name is Lindy Sherries and I used to be a Sangoma. In this channel, I talk about everything, guys. Abokorobela, the secrets that we were taught not to share with you guys, how we used to trick you guys, the spirits, how everything works when you go to a Sangoma for consultation, yamatambo. So whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, please check out this channel so we can talk about it. If you believe in God, let's share the gospel. If you don't believe in God, you can check out the channel too. I want to hear your opinion and I want people who actually share their opinion, not insulting me without saying why. Thank you, and I'll see you on my channel.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm really sorry there was no sound, isn't it? No, well, sorry about that. I didn't see that. Great to have you guys. I hope you're doing very well. My name is Solomon Izangi Shams. I welcome everyone wherever you're watching from. Please let us know where you're watching from. Here is Emmanuel saying that he's watching from Australia. Great to have you here, Emmanuel. Great. Thank you, everyone who's telling me there's no volume. Great to have you here, Bongani. Adam is saying, hi, Uncle Solomon and all the faithful Bereans. Tithe is a huge issue in many churches. Indeed, Miriam from Zambia, great to have you here. It's great to have you here, Seiko. Audio is off, you said. Mojabeng from Klekstop in South Africa. Newcastle also. Oh, wow, great. You're close to where my wife is from. My wife is from Dundee. So I normally pass through Newcastle, going to our hometown. Thank you, Evelyn from Nigeria. And we have Benita from Cape Town and Goodman all the way from Saudi Arabia. MD Paul from Mpumalanga. Thank you guys, every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please remember to subscribe right now. Just make sure you go and click subscribe just so you can follow through with any live broadcast or video that we get to post later. So now, I ran into a video that was made not long ago by Creflo on tithing. Now, why I just found it interesting and also to share this video is because when you talk about Creflo, I've been following Creflo right from like what, maybe 98, 99, very young then, doing children's church, family worship center in Abuja, Nigeria. I remember we even used to watch some of our Friday prayer meeting. We used to watch, some of his teachings, And when you talk about Creflo, a lot of people have, labeled him a prosperity gospel teacher. But this teaching that he did was just so shocking. And we know that over the years, he has sort of like transformed to be some sort of like a grace teacher, teach a lot on the grace of God in different areas of our lives and all that. And I think that sort of like took him away from certain truths that he had held for a long time. You would hear in the video that I'm going to play you how it took him a long time to come to a point where it's like, look, do we really do tithing rightly, biblically? Do we do it based on the law dispensation or based on the grace dispensation? Because tithing is a very huge issue around churches, especially in Africa, where sometimes you get all these charlatans and false prophets manipulating you into giving. threatening you, intimidating you, using the word of God to do that. Now, when you put Creflo Dollar, Kenneth Copeland, JC Duplantis, and all these guys, I know a lot of you guys like, these guys are all about the money. But I want you to watch this video because I feel there is some sort of like truth. And I hope that a lot of people would understand it. And trust me, I am not against giving. I love to give of my finances, of my time, of, if you know me, of my skill. I love to give. I love to help. I'm not against giving, but I'm against how we have been conditioned to give. And tithing is part of giving. First fruit is part of giving. Free will giving is part of giving. Whatever sort of seed you sow is part of giving. So giving is actually the main thing. But we've made giving sort of like less important and concentrate a lot on tithing. So here's a video. Let's watch it together. A teaching by Creflo Dollar. Please follow carefully.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions. I want you to think. Those of you at home, I want you to think. Is tithing a part of the Mosaic law? Yes, it's a part of the Levitical. Tithing is a part of the Mosaic law, right? Well, first fruit is a part of the law too. Next question. The scripture says if you're going to do something by the law rather than doing it by faith, then operating by the law makes your faith void and the promise unnecessary. Could it be? Could it be? Could it be? Is it possible that your stance on the law of tithing is the reason why you can't get blessed? I know that made me sound like I'm just lost my mind. But if you do something by the law, the promise is voided. Now, see, the only thing that's got you all years right now, because I've been teaching, and everybody in the world been teaching forever on this traditional way of giving, and wouldn't dare say what I just said because they don't know what else to say, because they don't understand grace-based giving. I know I'm right about it. I've been believing this for a long time. I'm just trying to figure out how to tell y'all. If Paul is the standard by which the preaching of the grace is to be measured and judged, then we must examine what and how he taught on finances, what and how he taught on prosperity, and what and how he taught on giving. If we examine his writings closely, there are many grace truths to be learned in this area. Now, I know y'all think about a lot of things. Well, Abraham tithed, but there was no law requiring him to tithe. He did it out of his heart. He could have gave 15%. He gave a tenth of his spoils out of his heart. There was no requirement for him to do it. There was no law at that time of tithing. This was 400 years before the law was given, 400 some years before the law was given. So he didn't do it because he was required to, like most churches all teach us. He did it because it flowed out of his heart, because he started looking at what God has done And he said, what can I do to bless he that has already blessed me? And out of his heart he says, I know, I'll give a tenth of all of my spoils. And with no law and no requirement, he did it. And then we took what Abram did and turned it and made it a part of the law of Moses. Y'all ain't gonna like me tonight. It's tight, but it's right. It's hard, but it's God. But I am going to show you what Jesus, through Paul, showed us. Now, by faith, how do we give? Now, by faith, how do we give? And then, by faith, get the promise. I could only teach at the time what I knew. Now I got enough boldness and guts to go against the flow of everybody else. I'm not afraid to stand alone or by myself because I have evidence and proof. Throughout the entire year of 2020, I never one time mentioned tithing. And we talked about giving out of your heart, giving out of worship, giving out of your heart. And the people I've talked to have prospered, and this ministry has prospered like I have never seen it before. Amen. Could it be that once we got out from under the law and got involved in grace-based giving, that God was able to now allow us to walk in the blessing by faith? All right, so Galatians chapter 1, 8 through 9. Now here's what I'm saying. So how do we, I mean, do you understand what I just said? Do you understand the challenge? Even you hearing this, all of us, but I thought too. And here's another thing I recognize. Under the law of tithing, I was always condemned if I didn't. I was always guilty if I didn't. I was always in shame if I didn't. I condemned myself. I walk in condemnation. You know what I condemned myself? I said, I am condemned. I am too condemned to be blessed because I didn't do that law. You got to know the blood of Jesus delivered us from condemnation and guilt. Yeah, you go out there and that blessing start coming your way, you're gonna understand then. But I got to get a few people to go and do this, and then so you can testify of what I already know. I tried to sneak it on you 2014 when I taught on honor giving. But they don't do no good because somebody else come back and do the other thing. And I'm like, they ain't ready yet. They ain't ready yet. They ain't ready yet. They ain't ready yet. I figure since we got all these empty seats, I might as well say it now. So if they need to stay empty, then they just stay empty. All right, you ready? All right, look at Galatians chapter 1 and verse 8 and 9. He says, let God's let God's curse. Don't do the King James. Galatians chapter 1 and 8. Don't go to NLT unless I'm necessarily ask you to. He says, but though we or any angel or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we, referring to Paul, have preached unto you, let him be accursed. Verse 9. As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that you have received, let him be accursed. It's like a double curse. All right? So he is saying if Paul is the standard by which, because that's what he just said, if you preach anything except what Paul preached, that's interesting. If you preach anything except what Paul preached, he said, let him be accursed. And I've studied this thing for years, and I can't find no place where Paul said anything. Okay, let me just show it to you. So we got to examine and what and how he taught finances. How did Paul teach giving? the apostle of grace, if we examine his witness and writings closely, there are many grace truths to learn in this area. So what type of things did Paul preach as it relates to grace-based giving?
Right. So that is just some of the stuff that he needs to share, and there's some comments even from Patrick. So many comments here. Some people actually going back to his history, how he was a big advocate of, telling people to give tithing, to buy him a private jet, or to do this, to do that. The focus is on this teaching. And for somebody like him to get to a point where he gives this teaching out, I think it's important. I think we need to pay attention to it. I think we need to realize that God is beginning to change the hearts of a lot of people. He's not going to be friends with a lot of people because of this teaching. A lot of his friends, a lot of pastors are not going to like him because of this teaching. That's a fact. So whether he comes back tomorrow and says something different, contradicting this, well, that's up to him. But the fact is, this is the truth. The law and grace. The law was a dispensation. Grace is a dispensation. There is a lot in the law dispensation that the current grace dispensation disputes. And we have to understand that. And not take over elements from the grace dispensation from the law dispensation into grace dispensation, because it benefits us, because it benefits you as a pastor, you as a leader, you as a bishop, you as a prophet. Again, I'm not against giving. I can never be against giving. I actually feel if we take away tithing, people will give more. Tithing actually gives limitation to people. That's what grace does. Grace wants you to give excessively. Because once you're under grace, the way that you give, you would overlook a 10% and go 20, 30, 40% when you want to. Because you're just enjoying the truth of who God is. And grace also protects you from any sort of condemnation. Do you know how many people are feeling they'll go to church and they will say, give a seat, and they don't even have anything to give, and they feel condemned? Matter of fact, the prophet, the bishop would make them feel condemned. But with grace, even if you don't have to give anything to give, there is no any sort of spirit of condemnation coming on you. I feel we should give. We must give towards the gospel. A lot of you guys have given towards what I do. We must look for a ground, a soil that is fertile to sow, to give towards the gospel, because the resources are needed. But to be manipulated, threatened, so you can give, there's a problem. And that's what the law does. How many of you guys have ever felt condemned because you didn't pay your tithe or you didn't have enough to give? But that's not. A matter of fact, giving has been so emphasized on money, on finances too much. Finances is a little element of giving. You can give of your time. You can give of your skill. You can go and help. Maybe you have a skill as an accountant. You can go and help an orphanage. And that's a great way of giving. You can say, no, I'm going to help you with your books. That's a great way of giving. But we've been manipulated for a long time. And to see people like Creflo coming up, he doesn't teach on tithing anymore. You see, grace permits you to give more than 10%. So if I want to give more than 10% under grace, but law is saying, no, just give 10%. No, give 10% is okay. But grace, 10% for a God who has done so much for you, for a God who you keep getting deeper and better revelation on every time, and you're not like, wow, everything I have belongs to you, Lord. I have to emphasize again that Creflo does not promote tithing in his church anymore. I think it's been like, 3-4 years or so. So let's take note of that. And I hope we're going to see more and more pastors. God is still going to supply the finances for the ministry, whether people tithe or not. It's his business. It's his business. Don't allow the law suffocate your finances. Allow grace to make you a giver and a receiver at the same time with joy. That's very important. When I tell people that giving is far more superior than tithing, they say, what do you mean? I say, I mean what I meant. Giving is far more superior. When you just give, there's no restrictions to it. Tithing is a restriction. It's a restriction. That's why they try to create different ways of getting, because they know you pay 10%, so they don't have enough money. They say, okay, let's have a special program, and you pay a seed for this, you give a seed for this, you give a seed for that. You can imagine if they allow people to just operate under grace when they can give. People are waking up. People have woken up that this whole scam that's been going on for a long time. Creflo himself was part of the scam. But what I'm saying is, it is good to hear leaders, prominent leaders who have been part of this scam, come out with their own truth, which is biblical truth. Because Creflo would influence a lot of other people. They will tell you must give 10%, but they don't tell you to give 5%. What if you don't have 10%? Because you have other needs that you need to meet. But you see, with grace, give 5% is okay. Give 2% is fine. Give 10% is okay. You can even give 35% or 50%. It's fine. Don't feel condemned. The beauty of grace, the dispensation that we are in today. So again, it is good to see that. It is good to notice that is going on. And let's continue to embrace that place of grace, not just in our giving, but in our relationships, in our marriage, in our aspiration, in our vision, Because grace would do what no man can do for you. Grace will do what your intellect, your wisdom cannot do for you. And that's the dispensation that you and I live in today. Let's continue to be givers. We have to give. We have to give to each other. We have to give for, there's need here, there's need there, there's need there. We have to give. But we cannot be manipulated. And talk to people. Help people who are still under that curse of the law that you've been set free from. Talk to them. Keep spreading the truth. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you subscribe. Shalom.